Hello again, everybody. This is Comic Book Hangover. It is Friday, which means it is time once again for a full run Friday. And this week I decided to sort of do a continuation. Last week I did my Marvel True Believers collection. There's quite a few of those. That was probably one of the longest videos I've done in a very long time. It was just over a half an hour. I have over 180 of those True Believers. So this time, I have decided that I'm going to go ahead and just finish off some of my reprints, and it's not going to be all of them. For example, we aren't going to talk about these. These are my EC reprints. There's quite a few of them. Don't fall. Okay. Those we're going to talk about at a different time. I think EC, I absolutely love EC comics, so those reprints, and I've got some magazine size reprints as well. Those are going to be in their own their own video, basically. Now reprints, especially lately, it seems like reprints are a big thing. We've got not just Marvel and DC getting in on the reprint game, even like American Mythology reprinted the Laurel and Hardy #1 from 1972. I have the original for this, but I wanted to get this so I could actually read it. I mean, the book is older than I am, so I'm not going to want to, open it up. Image has their Image First lines. I got a couple of these. Book called Witches. Mercy #1, which is a great book. I was reviewing that when that was coming out, and the first issue of Die, which I have the original for. So I mean, there's other publishers that have kind of gotten in on the game, because having a reprint for some of us is just as good as having the original to a major extent, because a lot of these books to get reprinted are key books, and it's really difficult for some of us to afford the originals. If we can get a reprint, like myself, speaking for myself personally, if I can get a reprint, I'm okay with that. Marvel has a long history of doing reprints. Their Marvel Tales series back in the day was nothing but reprints, but they would put new covers on them, which is cool. And incidentally, Marvel Tales is back. They're doing it as a series of one-shots, essentially, oversized. They reprint like 4 or 5 issues in them, and they're $8 cover price. So there's all kinds of reprints that are out there, but what I'm going to be focusing on are the rest of my Marvel and DC reprints. Some of them are going to be dollar reprints. DC had a line called Dollar Comics. I got most of those. I don't think I got them all. They also had DC Classics, which is where they reprinted their Batman Adventures, the first Batman Adventures series, which was sort of a spin-off of Batman the Animated Series. They just did like 7 issues of that. And then there's the Facsimile Editions. And we're going to talk about the Facsimile Editions when I get to them. But let's go ahead and flip this camera around, and let's get talking about some great reprints. All right, now let's go. Now, normally I like to keep all of my like books in the same box, but unfortunately, with the massive amount of reprints that I do collect, they're not all going to be in the same box. So this one's going to look a little different. You're not going to see me pulling books out of the box like I normally do. So we're going to do it this way. Starting with DC Classics. Again, like I said, DC Classics was just nothing more. It was just a reprint of Batman Adventures, which was the spin-off DC series of Batman the Animated Series. I do have most of them. I actually had up until like issue 14 or 15, and then I stopped buying it. So yeah, I did have the famous Batman Adventures #12, first comic book appearance of Harley Quinn. I did send it in to get it graded. Came back at a 9.6. Hit a moment where I did need some money, so I wound up selling it off. I do regret it. I wish I hadn't sold it off, but sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do, and take advantage of what's popular. So again, this only ran for 7 issues, which was kind of weird. It just kind of came and went. And this is the last one they did. And this one threw me off, because when this book was originally released, it was polybagged. I don't know what was in it that made it polybagged, but I never opened it up, so I never saw this cover. So when I looked at this, I thought, well, why is there some weird cover on this? Didn't look familiar, and I went back and looked at my my originals, and I was like, oh yeah, that's still polybagged. So I should probably open that up, but I think I've said this before. A lot of people say that you got to open them up because the polybag destroys the comics, but I've had comics that were polybagged that came out in the 90s and picked up an extra copy and opened them up, and they're just fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with them. So there's the DC Classics. Then we move on to Dollar Comics. The Dollar Comics were they were DC's version of True Believers. So you had some key books that were reprinted. Most of the times they were with the original cover, except for the Dollar Comics banner across the top. And yeah, they were just dollar reprints. And when I get to the Facsimile Editions, we're going to talk about what is what the differences between Dollar Comics and True Believers and Facsimile Editions, because there are some big differences between the two. So now some of these were great because I love that they had the original covers. Some of them they didn't put the original covers on. There's a Joker #1 reprint that they didn't put the original cover on. I was like, why? Why did they do that? So that is what it is, though. I still picked it up, and I was so happy when they announced this. So it's a little different than the original cover. I mean, some of the add-ons are different. They got that there, but this is one of those instances where I had the original, I had to get rid of it, but when I saw they were doing the reprint, I'm like, great, I can still have it in my collection. It is a reprint, but I don't care. Shadow the Bat #1. This is another one of those books that came polybagged originally. I have one in my collection somewhere. Blackest Night. And one of the cool things, like this one here, I never read Blackest Night. I'm not much of a DC reader to begin with, which is kind of weird considering how many of the reprints I have. But one of the things I do like, especially about these dollar reprints, is you can pick up these books really cheap, even though the originals go for some money, and you can check them out and actually kind of experience these books firsthand. There's a Brave and the Bold #197, Batman and Catwoman. Their capes make a heart. How sweet is that? So adorable. Crisis on Infinite Earths, another one of those books that it's kind of a staple book in everybody's collection. I never had it. I never had much of an interest in it, to be honest with you. And again, any of the books that when I say I didn't have an interest in them, I'm not trying to disparage the book at all or the fans of it. It's a personal thing. Myself, I just never really had an interest in it. I think this is a first appearance of Black Canary. This is one of those instances where they did not put the original cover on. This is Detective Comics 854, and they promoted a TV show with it. Like, I would have rather had the original cover on it, but whatever. Sorry, my allergies are kind of acting up right now, so that's why I'm kind of sniffling a little bit. The Flash. And some of these, I picked up, like I said, I'm not much of a DC reader, but, one of the things I do like about these is not so much the modern ones, but, some of the classic DC stuff. They got some great covers on them. I got to admit, Ethan Van Sciver, however you pronounce it. I have the original for that, but, Green Lantern Rebirth. Some great covers on some of these books. And to me, the beginning of the end for for DC, Infinite Crisis. It's like they kind of began their annual reboot and ruining of other universes for that. There's that Joker #1. I was so excited when they announced they were going to reprint this because I always loved the cover. And I mean, it's still a great cover, but I would have preferred the original. You know what I mean? JLA Year 1 #1. And some of these I don't understand the significance of the reprints, but I still grab them. This to me is one of those iconic covers. I just wanted to have it. And it's Keith Giffen, and this is one of those books I've always been curious about reading as well. New Teen Titans. First appearance of Deathstroke, the Terminator. Got the original of that somewhere around here. Another one that I have the original of, Robin #1. His first miniseries back in the 90s. And Sandman #23. Again, not really sure the significance of that one is, but the Sandman, it's a great cover. I have all the trades, so I have read it. It's a great read. Gets a little weird towards the end, kind of hard to stick with, but it's still a great read. Superman 75. Now, when this one came out, they did multiple printings of this, and I have I think the first, second, and fourth print of the original of this. I need to get that last printing, and I've got them. Of course, I've got the The other one that came polybag with the armband and the obituary, and I've got one of those that's open, one of them that's not. Swamp Thing #1. That is an amazing cover. I absolutely love that cover. Bernie Wrightson. Cannot go wrong with that. Swamp Thing 57. And we'll say part of the Tales of the Teen Titans annual #3. Says the Judas contract. It is what it is. All right, so that's the dollar reprint. So now we're going to get into the facsimile editions. Now, facsimile editions are reprints. We're going to start with the DCs. The big difference between the dollar reprints and the facsimile reprints, and this is where the facsimiles are kind of causing some problems for people, and that is the DC and the Marvel facsimile editions. They are exact replicas. They're exact reprints of the original books. The only difference is going to be the cover price, and a lot of them are going to have the updated UPC. Some of the UPC boxes were a little bit bigger. Sometimes they didn't have the UPC box in the corner, but they're all going to have these sort of thin ones now. So if you're looking at DC facsimile editions, one of the big things to look for to make sure you're not getting screwed over, because what's happening now is a lot of these books are being put on eBay, and they're being treated as if they're the originals. Maybe somewhere in the description they'll put that it's it's a reprint, but they don't make it easy for people to realize that, hey, this is not an original, this is a reprint. So one of the big things to look for, so you don't get screwed over, because this is one of those things where, I love these because it's a chance for new readers and also established people like me. There's no way I'm going to be able to afford this book, the original, but it's a way for new readers to kind of get some of these classic, iconic books and these iconic covers in their collections. But there's people who are taking advantage of their, them being so naive about comics. So if you're a new reader and you're wanting to get some of these iconic covers, some of these key books, and you're seeing them on eBay and they're going for a pretty good price, one of the first things you guys want to look for when you're looking at these is the cover price, because the modern ones are always going to have that cover price, $3.99. Some of them are going to be $4.99, but 99% of them are going to have $3.99 on the cover. The original cover price for this was not $3.99. That is a modern era book. Same here, see? $3.99. So with DC, that's the main thing you're going to want to look at. I mean, plus we can also look at the DC logo as well. And again, there's the UPC box. This one did not have a UPC box originally, but there it is. Same with this one. You got the cover price and the UPC in the corner. So that's the main thing you want to look for when you're interested in picking up these books. Always look at that cover price, because if it says $3.99 and that person is saying this is an original, it's not a reprint, if you see $3.99, you can be confident in the fact that it's a reprint. And this is going to be the last of the DC ones. Slide these down. All right, now we're going to get into my Marvel ones. Now Marvel, there's actually three, sometimes three ways to determine whether or not these are facsimile reprints. #1, of course, is going to be the cover price. The original was not $4.99. You're also going to have the UPC, and a lot of the books back in the day, a lot of the Marvel books, and I really wish I would have thought about grabbing one, but the UPC boxes in the older books were not in the corner like that. They were sort of moved to the side. They were sort of floating there in the corner, okay? And they were square. This is more a rectangle. This, you can see, it's hugging the edge of the book. It's hugging the spine. It's kind of overlapped, and it's thinner. So if you see that, and like this one here, there was no UPC box on the original, and that was not $3.99. This was a really, really low-priced book back in the day. So if you see, actually, you know what? Let's just grab something random here. All right, yeah. Here's an original. Look at that UPC box. See, it's more square, and there's a space there between the UPC and the spine. So that is how you can tell the difference between that and a reprint. Right there is your big dead giveaway on how you can tell the difference between the two. All right. Now let's continue, because there's some really good ones here. First appearance of Morbius. They did a True Believers for this, so it was kind of weird that they did that. Actually, is that I got my True Believers right here. Did they do one? I don't remember. Yep. There's the True Believers. Let's put that banner across the top. And then they did the Facsimile Edition. Amazing Spider-Man 252. One of the earliest appearances of the black costume. This one I have the original for, but I love this cover. Eric Larson's Venom was always one of my favorite Venoms. Absolutely love it. Avengers 57. Behold the Vision. Another one of those books I'm never going to be able to afford. Iconic cover, so I want it in my collection. Black Knight. This goes back sometime. This is pre-Marvel. So the other thing is, the other way to tell a difference, I know I said there was three. There's the cover price, there's the UPC, there's also the Marvel logo. Now the modern, all of your facsimile editions are going to have this red Marvel logo on them. So that is how you can tell the difference. That is another big giveaway. Now you look at something like this, you're going to see the Marvel logo up there, and that's the old school Marvel logo, but look, down here in the corner by the UPC box, dead giveaway. That is a facsimile edition. I had the original, but, whatever. Got to have the facsimile as well. Daredevil, double-sized issue number 181. This is one of the first ones they did. Fantastic Four number 1. Again, there's no way I'm going to be able to afford having the original, so I'm perfectly happy with having the facsimiles. Now, what makes the facsimile editions really interesting and really cool, and a lot different than the True Believers and the Dollar Comics, they reprint these in their entirety. So you're going to see the original ads. You're going to see letter pages in the Marvel books, the bullpen. Stan Lee's soapbox and the little checklist that they used to put in them back in the day. All that stuff is going to be in here. So you're going to get the book as it was done originally. It'll be on better quality paper, but you're going to get the original version of it. Plus, when they do like these, like this is basically an annual, they'll reprint the whole thing. So like some of the True Believers, when they were reprinting the annuals, they were just doing part of them. When you get the facsimile editions, you're getting all of them. Oh, I'm getting a little hungry. So I'm going to have to wrap this up. Giant size X-Men. That's nice to have in my collection one way or another. And see, there's that Marvel logo down there. So I know I keep harping on it, but I really, there's another one. I have the original, and I know that UPC box is not there. It does not have one on there. My original is actually signed by the artist Frank Brunner. That's pretty cool. I know I keep harping on the differences between the facsimile editions and the originals, but it's just because I hate the fact that there are people out there that are taking advantage of the new collectors, and you're also going to have people who are maybe they're wanting to get a Hulk 181 for their boyfriend or girlfriend, and they see one online for real cheap, thinking, hey, I can get this for my significant other, and only come to find out it is a reprint. That's not right. I don't like the idea of of people screwing over other people in the comics industry. I mean, all of us fans should be sticking together. I've got a poster for this. All of us fans should be sticking together and trying to make sure that we all get the most out of this hobby. There's so much, especially these days. There seems to be so much. I've got the original for this. There's a lot of negativity and a lot of just There's just a lot of bad stuff going on, in the industry right now, fans fighting with creators and creators being jerks to fans. But, we really need to get back to basics. Okay, this next one is one of the culprits of, people getting screwed over. There's people that are selling this on eBay that are not letting people know that it's a reprint. But, you do have the classic Marvel Comics logo on there, but the original one was only like $1.25 book. $3.99, nope. And again, look at the UPC. It's hugging the spine. That's a reprint. And you got the modern Marvel logo. That's a reprint. Spider-Man #1, one of the most iconic covers in the modern era. Thor 229. I think the only reason why they reprinted this is because there's an ad in here that had Wolverine on it. It was like, what are the first appearances of Wolverine? Sorry, we don't count ads as first appearances. Or at least I don't, and we shouldn't. Tomb of Dracula #10. I love my Tomb of Dracula books. There's no way I'm going to get the original. So, again, glad with that. And here's the other major recent culprit as far as... and then this one's a little bit more difficult because when this came out, I think $3.99 was the standard price for it, or getting close to it. So, I mean, it's going to have the same price in there. But again, you're going to have that UPC that's hugging it. But you've got that logo there. Now, the original Marvel logo did not. It was white, but it did not have that red border on it. So now, in an instance like this, what I would also suggest to sort of cover yourself a little bit to make sure you're not getting screwed over is if you see something like this on eBay and you're excited about the price of it, research it. Go ahead and search that title, Ultimate Fallout #4. Search that title and take a look at the cover. Look at every detail from the logo, the Marvel logo, the issue number, the UPC, and make sure that you are getting what you want to get. And you know what else you could do, which is just as easy as researching and probably a little bit easier, is you can ask other fans. You know, here's one I've got the original for. You can ask other fans. You can get in just about any comic book group and say, hey, you know, I'm seeing this. Is this a reprint? You know, is this a facsimile? You don't if you don't want somebody to snipe you on the bid or whatever, you could just screenshot the picture. Say, hey, is this an original? Or is this a reprint? And there will be a lot of us will be more than happy to. I'm one of them. I'll be more than happy to help you out and point you in the right direction. So we're getting real close to the end of these here. I don't remember why this one was reprinted. I don't remember the significance of that, but it's a great cover. I think I know the significance of this one. It's a first appearance of somebody or other. I don't know. Kidding. And this is the last one I've got. And that wraps up my reprints. All right, let's flip this back around. So there you go. Those were all of the rest of my Marvel and DC reprints. They're great things to have. You know, I really like that that Marvel is, you know, they're not doing them as much in DC. I can't remember the last time DC has put out a facsimile or anything like that. But with the pandemic and everything slowing down, I'm sure with the paper shortage that's going on right now, they've sort of put a halt to them. I think True Believers and Dollar Comics are pretty much done, which is sad because it was a great way to really be able to get new readers and, you know, established readers, you know, get some of these classic stories and classic covers into our hands. The facsimile books, they're continuing them. I think there's a Conan one coming out. I'm holding out hope that Marvel will do, and maybe next year with the Ghost Rider's 50th anniversary, we'll finally get a Marvel Spotlight #5 facsimile edition, because I would love that more than anything. You know, that's one of my Grail books, and if I can get a facsimile for it, I'll be happy as hell about that. But you know, with the facsimiles, you know, I've seen other people talking about them, other videos, other channels talking about them, and you know, there's some people saying, well, maybe they should put, you know, some sort of an indicator across the cover, like sort of like how the True Believers had that banner across the top to sort of distinguish that, you know, this is a reprint and this is not the original. But I gotta say, I hate that idea, because the whole idea of a facsimile is a page-to-page exact replication or facsimile of the original, and putting anything on the cover besides changing the price and the company logo, you know, putting that Marvel logo on there. Anything else is going to make it less than a facsimile, and would, to me, make them less interesting and less desirable to have. Which is why, you know, while I was doing that, I kept harping on, you know, look at the covers, learn the differences between the facsimiles and the originals. There's indicators on the cover, and you know, there's no shortage of groups on Facebook. There's no shortage of people on Instagram, on Twitter, that you can talk to, that you can get the information from. You know, there's a lot of us out there that are more than willing to help, especially if you're new, or you're a boyfriend or girlfriend and you're trying to get something for your significant other. You know, we're especially something like that. It's like, hey, you know, you're helping, you know, you're helping one of us continue with the hobby, and that's awesome. So somebody like me, we're going to be more than helpful for you. So that said, enjoy the facsimiles. I love them. Anybody out there, if you're enjoying them, let me know. Which ones do you have? Which ones do you want? Which ones are your favorite ones? What are your opinions on facsimiles? Specifically, let's talk about facsimile reprints. Should they do something on the cover besides what they already do, the little changes that they make? Should there be something more? I personally don't think there should be. I think they should be done as they are. I love them. But, what do you think? Should they do something more to sort of distinguish them from the originals? But, that said, we're going to wrap this up. Thanks for watching. As always, like, comment, subscribe. And if you're subscribed, hit that notification button because we're going to start doing these videos in advance. So those notifications are going to be coming in handy. Going to have an announcement on Thursday about next week's Full Run Friday. We're going to be doing something a little bit different because we got some stuff coming up. But we'll talk about that on Thursday. But again, like, comment, subscribe, notification button, and share the video. We'll see everybody next week. Thanks for watching.